Hi again. So these pages are about nature and a return to nature, which we see in both Fahrenheit 451 and in Nosedive. So for you guys, you're looking at page 179 to 184. Have pens ready, highlighters, whatever it is, and let's get going in terms of our annotations. So Montag has just run away from the city. The hound has been chasing him, and he's out of the city and he's landed. He's found a river, and he's run downstream. He's in the river, and I've just highlighted these because it's a real shift from suburbia, where he's come from, into nature. And he feels the river pull him further and further away from civilization, from the world as he knows it, into darkness. And suddenly they were gone. The hound was gone. There's only the cold river, and Montag is floating in a sudden peacefulness away from the city and the lights and the chase, away from everything. So this is a nice little quote that you can include here. So he's escaping the city, and nature is therefore kind of returning him to humanity. Remember, at the end of the river, when he finally emerges, is when he finds Granger and the group of homeless intellectuals who remember what it is to be human. So this is quite significant in that regard. This is a great quote. He felt as if he had left a stage behind and many actors. He felt as if he had left the great seance and all the murmuring ghosts. He was moving from an unreality that was frightening into a reality that was unreal because it was new. So I suppose if we relate that back to Nosedive, and we can think of the fact that people are always wearing masks, that they're not really showing their true feelings, they're acting for ratings. And here, we know that in Montag's world, everyone was acting there as well because they were so scared of being surveilled by their neighbours that they were putting on a show, to the point where the people who he was living with in society are ghosts, and he's finally escaping that. For the first time in a dozen years, the stars were coming out above him in great processions of wheeling fire, and it threatens to roll over and crush him. So he's kind of feeling overwhelmed by nature. But the river is mild and leisurely. Think about the words that the river is that are being used for the river, how it's being described and categorized. It's peaceful, it's mild, it's leisurely. So nature represents peace. He's going away from the people who ate shadows for breakfast and steam for lunch and vapors for supper. These things, they're nothing. Like a shadow is not, it has no substance. Steam has no substance. Vapors have no substance. He's saying that everyone in society is functioning on nothingness. They're just consuming nothing, and therefore they are empty. Whereas the river is real, and he's being kind of rocked in this moment by this comfortable river. He finally listens to his heart slow, and thoughts stopped rushing with his blood. So he's finally calming down, leaving the emptiness of society. This section is really interesting. I'm going to read it to you now, and just so that you can note here, he's rejecting burning, and he's rejecting it because everything is burned by the sun anyway. So I'll quickly read this. And what lights the sun? Its own fire. And the sun goes on, day after day, burning and burning, the sun and time. The sun and time and burning, burning. The river bobbled him along gently. Burning. The sun and every clock on the earth. It all came together and became a single thing in his mind. After a long time of floating on the land and a short time of floating in the river, he knew why he must never burn again in his life. The sun burned every day. It burned time. The world rushed in a circle and turned on its axis, and time was busy burning the years and the people away without any help from him. So if he burnt things with the firemen and the sun burnt time, that meant that everything was burned. So what he's saying here is the fact that the sun burns time. And he's basically saying that time is precious, and he's realizing this. Like people die, they live, they create books, learning, science, culture, they create things, and then they die. So he's kind of realizing in this moment that the sun or time will already take everything away. And so by burning books, he's like doubling that pain. He's literally taking away the memory of these lives that have already been taken or burned by the passage of time. So he now refuses to burn because he understands that by burning books, he's burning more than just pages, he's burning culture, he's burning memory. And he says someone had to do the saving and keeping one way or another, in books, in records, in people's heads, any way at all, so long as it was safe, free from moths, silverfish, rust, and dry rot, and men with matches. They're saying there's enough in this world that will destroy what we've made. We don't need to add on to that ourselves. He's remembering Mildred. Millie, he thought, all this country here, listen to it, nothing and nothing, so much silence. Millie, I wonder how you'd take it. Would you shout, shut up, shut up? Millie, Millie, and he was sad. Isn't it interesting that he wonders whether she would yell at the silence to shut up? The idea that silence can be so much heavier and harder to bear than constant sound, because in silence we're just forced to kind of listen to ourselves, to be in our own heads. And so he feels very sorry for her that she's unable to do that. If you continue on in this section, and I'm not going to now, but as I said, you'll find that from the river and from nature, he finds Granger. And so we can connect what it means to be human to nature here. Thanks, guys.